Hello everyone and welcome to Disconnect. Disconnected is a new podcast telling you stories about people listening to audio shows while doing boring, manual or repetitive work. According to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, disconnect means to become detached or withdrawn. We all do daydream at one point during the day or for longer during our life. Humans seek a pleasant and wishful creation of the imagination. And podcast stories are the best to create the theater of the mind. We believe that podcast is something you can do while doing other things. We all do activities, chores, commuting and going to the gym. Listening music has always been the primary listening experience for most of us. With better show or better story coming to podcast started replacing music. Today's guest is Mikal, who accepted our invitation to talk about his favorite activity in the house. Good morning, Mikal. First of all, what do you do?
Hey, I'm a software engineer.
And how did it all started?
Podcasting and listening to podcasts.
Yeah.
It all started many years ago when I wanted to listen to a show about new movies that were out in the cinemas, and I couldn't do it online as it was at 5 in the afternoon. So I started looking it up and found podcast on a site of the radio.
And what was your first podcast?
It was that show about movies, and it was in about year 2002, at about in the early days.
Okay. Here's the core question, one of the core questions. What do you do when you listen to podcasts?
I iron. Yeah.
And do you do this alone?
Yes, I do iron alone. It's much more effective when you iron alone than when it's a teamwork.
And what time of the day?
It's usually evening, or weekend. It's just a time when I have nothing to do, or when I have it on my list of to-do things for the weekend that my wife puts together.
What does it bring you when listening?
It gives me a feeling that I'm doing something useful, or something that develops me, or where I learn something new, because ironing by itself doesn't really give me a feeling of satisfaction. I feel that is more like waste of time. And when I iron and listen to something interesting, like what movies are in the cinema, I feel that I'm not wasting my time on Earth.
What type of podcasts you listen to? What genres?
It's this podcast about movies in the cinema, so it's journalism, I would say.
And any specific podcasts you have?
It's this one.
You are very specific.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's actually the only podcast that I listen to. So it's quite easy to choose.
Tell us the last or special or funny time when you were ironing and you were listening to Double X podcast.
I mean, the last one, let's take the last one. It was before coming to a retreat of our company, and I needed to have some special shirts which were not used at the end. And it was an evening after a long day, and I just saw that 3 shirts. That might be a short time of listening to a podcast, but nonetheless, I've tried it, and I finished the 3 shirts, and I stayed there by the ironing board listening to the podcast because I wanted to hear all the 25 minutes of it. So on the end, I gave more time to the podcast than to the 3 shirts, and that was perfectly fine.
And what was your life? Wife, sorry. Wife, sorry.
She was doing my luggage.
Okay.
She likes to organize stuff, so it's my pleasure to let her do what she likes.
Do you have a podcast which you would recommend to other people who likes to iron?
I think that the value that listening to podcast brings to people who iron is that they learn something that they are interested in. So whatever thing people find interesting, be it fishing, cars, whatever. They can listen to it while ironing, and I think that would make them happy.
If you want to know more, please subscribe.